What's up, guys and gals of the movement world? It's Sean Mishka, the Movement Miyagi, coming to you with our second installment of the 2022 National Football League Draft movers to watch and what to watch about their movement. Obviously, we're going from one running back in Brees Hall from the Iowa State Cyclones, running back that we looked at and took a dive into in our first installment, to Kenneth Walker the third, running back for the Michigan State Spartans, who might be that guy who gives Brees Hall that push for that number one running back slot. Now, both guys likely forecast to be very, very successful at the National Football League level, but they do so through very different means. They have different ways of solving similar behaving movement problems. So that's just a fancy way of saying that they have different styles within their craft. Now, for my money, because I'm very, very biased towards guys who have an ability to display abundance and adaptability and a real sensitivity and some layers within evasive cutting agility actions, my money is on a Kenneth Walker. Okay. We're talking about a guy who's 5'9, 210, 211 pounds. Just a little different style than a Brees Hall, who sometimes is looking to put that early acceleration to use, as we talked about in our first installment. But with Kenneth Walker, what you find, even though he ran a 4.38 at Indy just a few months ago at the NFL Combine, is that 4.38, he isn't actually really utilizing it. And this is something that could come across as being a knock. However, just the way that he sets and solves problems on the field, the aspects that kind of flow into his style, he isn't about finding or hitting the home run in the same way as a Brees Hall is. Okay. The way that Kenneth Walker searches for space and what he does with space is just a little different than a Brees Hall. What you'll find from a Kenneth Walker is more joystick-like jukes and movement actions. You see, he is equally adept at solving problems in 1v1 situations, both in open field as well as in tight traffic. And he is really a weaver, a slasher, a slicer through traffic. So he's very, very comfortable within it. And there are some times that he actually misses opportunities to bounce it out wide, because he is so adept. He is so comfortable being in that traffic and slicing through it. And because of that slicing ability and his comfort in being able to solve some of these very complex problems, again, complex movement problems being lots of bodies, lots of interacting component parts in shorter or smaller amounts of space, tighter space, that he's always perceiving and picking up opportunities, at least that lie right here, say down this tunnel of the hashes or something like it, right? So when we're looking at this width of that, which what he's potentially perceiving, his eyes and his head are bouncing back and forth between it and through it to try and find those opportunities. Okay. He has very, very, very sudden stop and restart ability. Okay. And this leaves guys grasping for air. He, in a really ghost-like fashion, he often very rarely gets touched in some of these 1v1 scenarios, or when guys look like they are in a position to maybe bring him down or even get a hand on him, they're coming up grasping for nothing but air. So he's very fun to watch then in that way. Kenneth Walker also changes levels and changes strategies really, really neatly. Like we're talking about decisive. He also has this really abundant movement toolbox. So, like I said, he changes levels, but he also changes strategies frequently. The reason why he can change those strategies so frequently is his toolbox is wide open. He has tremendous width as well as depth within that toolbox. So he has adjustability of the respective strategies, but he also has the ability to go from one strategy to the next and kind of put these movement actions on top and layered in with one another. So it's truly layered movement skill. It's layered problem solving. It's constant perception action coupling. It's constant attunement and adaptability. And that's what makes me like Kenneth Walker's game so damn much. Okay. And we're going to highlight a few of those ways and reasons today. And this on a couple plays, actually, two plays from this week 3 matchup against the University of Miami Hurricanes. But you could go back and watch the highlights, particularly turn on the Michigan game, turn on the Rutgers game, turn on the Maryland game. And maybe I think there was a Western Kentucky game in there too, where he's doing these things on routine. So it wasn't just exclusive to this week 3 matchup. One doesn't just find their way into the Doak Walker Award, right? Or find their way into various running back of the year awards, like Kenneth Walker did in his 1 year at Michigan State after having 2 years at Wake Forest. Now, there are some weaknesses because of that creativity, because of that adaptability. He sometimes allows guys to get too tight, too close to him in this metastable region or zone that exists of interpersonal distance between himself and another human. Because he is so adept at solving these 1v1 problems, guys sometimes get a little too close for him. And in the college ranks and in the college game, he can still find his way to adapt into finding a solution. But at the National Football League level, where those guys that get up in that space are much more adept and skillful at the task of bringing one down, he's going to have to adjust that interpersonal distance range and sort of that brinkmanship and what that range means to him and his options in the openness and responsiveness of his toolbox. But because he is so adaptable, that blessing ends up being a curse to a certain degree right now, and especially as he enters the National Football League. That attunement or that sensitivity to what options are open when guys get up in his space is going to be imperative to evolve and grow. The other thing is we didn't see him catch a lot of footballs at Michigan State. I think he caught 13 balls or something like that across the course of the year. So about one per game, somewhere in that vicinity. It's not to say that he doesn't have or possess that skill set, because he did display it at times. He just didn't catch the ball out of the backfield as a main aspect of what he did, maybe in the same way as a Breece Hall. But that being said, with Kenneth Walker's true 1v1 movement skill, it would seem, or at least be reasonable to speculate, that he would be able to excel at the National Football League level if and when a team drafts him and wants to utilize him out of the backfield in this way to create mismatches in 1v1 scenarios against linebackers in particular. Like, forget about it. In 1v1 situations, whether they're tight to him or whether they're far from him, he's going to make some dudes look silly. So though I view it as a weakness, I actually don't think it's as big a weakness as we could maybe speculate, or as some are probably drawing attention to. So let's go ahead and get into our play today. Let's look at what he was able to do. We actually have two plays, like I said. Let's watch it at full speed, and then we'll go from there. And these plays are relatively short. He doesn't take either one of these to the house, but you're going to see some unique movement skill and some problem solving that we don't see at a lot of levels, whether it's the college game, the high school game, the NFL game. I mean, these are the ability to solve and stack movement problems and movement solutions together in a very rare way. And we're going to highlight some of those things when we're able to get in slow motion, because I don't want you to miss some of the layers and levels to this. It should pop out to you. And let's watch it one more time. Obviously, I could watch a running back slicing, weaving, slashing through tight traffic like this on repeat, and you guys have been along for the ride many times as I've done that, right? So I don't have to tell you. You guys know I'm already will do that over and over again. Let's go ahead and go to 50% speed, because there are some cool nuances not only with this play but the second play that we will watch as well. So obviously, for any running back, when a play is blocked and blocked well up front, particularly from a Michigan State offensive line that is stacked with some dudes, that would be the thing that Kenneth Walker probably had to his advantage a little bit more than, say, Breece Hall did at Iowa State, and obviously a lot of other running backs across the league. That when plays are blocked and blocked well, we have to think to ourselves, how could this type of problem potentially forecast to the National Football League level? Number one, first and foremost, much like I mentioned yesterday with the Breece Hall play, defenders at the college ranks and games are going to continually miss plays or allow for affordances or opportunities for a running back that won't exist there at the National Football League level. If this type of interaction, say between number 5 and then Kenneth Walker, number 5, the defender for the Hurricanes, and then Kenneth Walker, were to exist at the NFL level, it's likely that out of this position, so you can see I have my mouse on number 5 here, out of this position, going from right to left in this slicing angle, even with this amount of space, it's highly likely that an NFL player is going to fill that gap when there's 2.5 yards to 3 yards in between them. Okay. And that Kenneth Walker were to have to continue to adapt, whether it's a spin move, whether it's a hurdle, whether it's a cut from right to left, whether that's through a crossover, a power cut, so on and so forth. The great thing about Kenneth Walker that we've seen and that I've seen by looking at his highlights, and I would implore you to go look at him as well, you can see that he has these types of tools in his toolbox. At and behind the line of scrimmage, the ability to make the first guy miss is the calling card to his skill set. Okay. So even though number 5 ends up missing this tackle and doesn't fill this gap accordingly, that is something that Kenneth Walker has the ability to do and show. But obviously, at the NFL level, for one to forecast into their game and their craft translating, when plays aren't blocked well, do they have an equal and adept ability to be able to solve that problem? And that's the thing that you'll see from Kenneth Walker. When blocking breaks down, he's still constantly adapting. Okay. But as soon as he comes and crosses the line of scrimmage here, and he knows that number 5 is not a threat, the one thing that I want you guys to kind of take home from Kenneth Walker and his skill set is perceptual sensitivity and attunement. Okay. These eyes are always picking up information wide and relatively deep. Now, he will have to get or gain a capacity to take in this information that exists beyond this micro or local problem that exists right in front of him. That is something that any young running back entering the league, very few have evolved perceptual skill in that way, to where they're able to set up and find and perceive simultaneous and then successive affordances. So they're solving the immediate movement problem based on how the problem that exists potentially behind it may unfold. So that isn't so much a knock or a weakness. It's something that every player needs. But this wide perceptual attunement and sensitivity to what is unfolding and what opportunities lie and exist in front of him is very, very skillful, very, very rare at the college level. And he's likely here, he being Kenneth Walker, likely picking up, let me see if I can get my spotlight out, likely picking up this dyadic relationship between blocker and defender, even out of his periphery. So looking, even though it looks and appears as though he's looking straight here towards the zebra and towards the gap to the left and to the right of the zebra, actually, but he is likely also in his periphery, right to his left, taking in information about this interaction. And we're going to see it in how he adapts right after this. Okay. So this leads to this right to left crossover. Look at this elongated crossover. Notice I continually talk about his abundance, but also the adjustability of these strategies. So not only is there a lot of strategies for Kenneth Walker, guys and gals, he has adjustability of them as well. Look at the slicing angle that he's going to find himself in. Remember, interpersonal distance isn't just about oneself and one's opponent. It can be oneself in another relationship. It can be oneself and one's teammate. And Kenneth Walker is very, very sensitive to these relations. And we watch this unfold as he goes from right to left now, always adapting, always adjusting, very cool aspects and parts of his skill. We shouldn't miss it. And we're going to see it on display a couple more times here over the course of our 2 plays. So he gets 26 turned around, right? Watch this one more time through at slow speed. We watch him throw this left foot in the elongated fashion, goes from right to left in this crossover. Once he does this, I need you guys to see the layered parts of his skill. He knows that 26 gets turned around. Okay. It appears as such that he is now looking here to determine, does the affordance exist for me to get to the edge and then likely get up the sideline? Or do I have to adapt based on how my opponent is behaving and how quickly this guy gets turned around, knowing full well that this is a defensive back, this is a defensive back, both guys that can close space quickly. He's going to layer in this deceptive, purposeful deception, I believe. Now, whether, again, like with the Brees Hall example yesterday, whether that's conscious and he knows it and is thinking about it, or whether it's more sub or unconscious, which is what I would propose or suspect that it is from being in this scenario situation, we cannot and should not miss this. Okay. He gets him turned around and he knows that that bearing angle, as well as how quickly that speed is changing, allows me for a cutback opportunity. Let's look at something here. Obviously, 21 coming right here down what would be the 35-yard line, down the first down marker. We see this angle from 26. Okay. Now, he's taking that, perceiving that, connecting that information very, very rapidly. So even right before he got to this point, and this, when we tell this movement problem solving story, again, we're speculating here. I'm speculating. But this first step goes down. The second step goes down. He gives the impression I'm going to the sideline. He gets 26 and 21 going hard towards the sideline as well. And he throws this left foot down after he got both guys moving in that way. And he goes a sharp left to right. Like, look at this position. He's going to turn this back inside on their inside hip. That's pretty impressive. So even though he has to take a couple gather steps, I'm cool with that adaptability, because watch this foot go down and he's 1-2 steps and he regathers himself, slices his way around and navigates through the traffic. And obviously we didn't see these two gents down here, which was obviously playing and factoring into his information pickup as well, and how he's coordinating, controlling, and organizing his movement accordingly. But he adapts that sharp crossover then to get himself out of harm's way from 26 and 21, two opponents. Look at him right here where I pause this. Okay. So if we look at where his eyes are fixated, now that's where his helmet is, but it's likely that his eyes are at least picking up right here, number 17, coming and closing ground. So even though it would appear at first glance that he would have an opportunity, I'm just drawing arrows all over the place, guys and gals. It looks like he would have an opportunity to get north and south. 17 is closing. And obviously it's up to number 9, Kenneth Walker, to perceive really rapidly, really quickly, and simultaneous, really, as he comes out of the tackle attempt from 26 and 21. He's able to take in and perceive 17's bearing angle and speed, and maybe even posture and position. Again, I'm speculating, but I believe just when we look at this, that's what's unfolding. And then we see really high level movement skill. And this is something that is really, truly looking mature and evolved for running backs entering the National Football League level. Let's not miss these layers. Watch this high level deception. He picks up this guy knowing 17 is right here and that the opportunity is going to exist. Where is it going to exist? It's going to exist right back here behind him. So if we look at this, he knows that this space is back there, calling and beckoning him, number 9, Kenneth Walker, to move to that space. If he can get 17 to vacate it, which shouldn't actually be that hard. Again, he's likely subconsciously taking this in, because when we look at how 17 is moving, okay, he is running at this angle at a relatively accelerative clip. Okay. So all Kenneth Walker does, and when I say all, like it's some sort of easy feat, it's not, he executes this this deceptive look as if he's going to occupy that space himself and get a little foot race, a short foot race with 17. But he throws that foot down hard, keeping 17 coming and entering the space, vacating this space over here after Kenneth Walker himself. Let's get our highlight. Look at this position. Throws this left-footed hard lunge jab step that then goes sort of to a modified lunge to crossover to power cut. I don't even know what we would really qualify it as. But look at this position. He really like waits till the last moment to throw on the brake hard, to throw it on aggressively. So he keeps 17 coming, and he being 17 can't adapt. So that now opens up the opportunity for Kenneth Walker, as long as he has the movement strategy or skill set to be able to execute upon it, to go in and move right past him. And that's exactly what he does. High level stuff here, guys and gals. Okay. And that little jump cut is nasty. It's filthy, right? You got to have the action capabilities. You got to have the tool in the toolbox in order to be able to do that. But to be able to time it and to be able to pick up the situation, to be aware of the scenario and the layers of this unfolding movement problem, high level stuff. And look at where he is right here. Even though he's going to end up being tackled, he's looking right back up, next opponent. And I think as that constant, continuous, successive perceptual search, that search and find process, is at another level compared to most backs entering the league. Okay. And it's high level stuff. We don't want to miss it. Okay. Cool stuff from him. So even though he gets taken down now, he goes into this more power oriented strategy and solution just to get what the defense is giving him. Pretty nifty stuff in some really complex local movement problems, a really tight situation, some places and scenarios where he was in at a disadvantage, and he displayed some layers to his movement skill that, again, guys and gals, most players do not possess. We're going to get to our second play here, and it just so happens to come right after that, midway through the third quarter. When we look at this play, okay, we're going to see some similar things from him, but we're also going to see some differences. And when I say differences, remember, no two problems are ever the same, and that should bear repeating, but no two solutions are the same either. Whether it's in the sequence, whether it's in the timing, whether it's in the speed that came before it, the pattern that came before it, the strategy that came before it, or the strategy that comes after it. All of those aspects and nuances of movement, problems, and solutions, and that continuous problem solution dynamics, their changing states of evolution or changing states of organization, are always evolving, rather. So let's pick this up. Well, let's watch it a few times through first. And again, seeing some layers that we don't see from a lot of guys. Now, this might not look like that big of a play overall. I don't know exactly how many yards he picks up here, but these movement problems and the way he's solving them and the abundance he displays within them is a pretty big deal in my world. Okay. This is a very NFL-like movement problem. And his ability to adapt and show the diversity, the variability, the abundance within his strategies and skill set, again, I believe are second to none in this respective class. Okay. Very Nick Chubb-like here from my perspective. So let's pick this up. Obviously, number 8 is not really a threat, even at the NFL level. That wouldn't happen. This guy and this interaction here as he crosses this and this guy in the backfield, luckily, obviously, Kenneth Walker, as I mentioned before, has the ability to make free guys miss behind the line of scrimmage, as well as anybody entering the draft as well. Let's watch his information movement coupling here as he crosses the line of scrimmage. We'll go back and remember back to our first play and how I talked about him continually picking up information about the next opponent, about the next threat. He's very, very, very sensitive to that next threat, that next opponent. Sometimes maybe a little too sensitive, There are some times that I think he gets anchored on that guy as opposed to looking for opportunities to the left, to the right of that guy, or maybe that which what is unfolding deeper. But again, that's a higher level perceptual skill in and of itself as well. Okay. But remember how we talked about with the Brees Hall play, as well as then all throughout the 2021 National Football League season, that behavior affords behavior. Okay. Kenneth Walker, the reason why he's able to be so adaptable is he very frequently takes a disadvantageous position that he's in within a movement problem, changes something about his own actions as he picks up information about an opponent, and sets up two-way goes for the immediate opponent with multiple options. So he has really true skilled intentionality. He was able to remain open and responsive until he has to unfold or allow it to unfold and make a decisive action in response to it. Okay. So he remains open and responsive for as long as he needs to until he gets all the information that he needs to. Now, obviously, I said that it's a very NFL-like problem. Look at him already. The guy's off the screen, kind of like Brees Hall yesterday when he was in the open field. Remember, guys and gals, in the NFL, that space is no longer there. Those interpersonal distance go from a long ways away, a long distance, to very tight windows, or those windows, if they are long, close very, very rapidly. Okay. So I like some of the early juke and shimmy and shake from Kenneth Walker that we'll often see from him. Because when that happens, he's really acting pretty decisively to see what he can pick up from the immediate and next opponent. Now, at the college game, he has a longer time to pick that guy up. He has a longer time to manipulate and deceive that opponent and give himself that two-way go. But what he's trying to do here is pick up the information about how this immediate opponent is acting. Remember what I mentioned earlier, and if we go back just a few frames here, how I said that there are some times that he gets too anchored on the immediate opponent. I believe this is one of those cases where he should probably stay going from left to right, more boom, 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 boom. Maybe there's 2 or 3 looks in there. Okay. And now I can't see his eyes. We don't have eye tracking glasses on him, but I think we can speculate because of how he's acting here. And I will belabor this point. We see him give this left, right, as he sets this up. I believe that he actually might miss number 9 here, who enters the movement problem. Okay. And at the NFL level, I would like to see him do this, but take in from this immediate defender over here and then over here, back to over here, something of that nature. Okay. So we're actually continuous scanning. And he does it a lot when he's in the open field or when he's in very, very tight traffic. But in this case, where it's sort of like in between, where there's going to be some traffic and he's got a guy very far away, he gets very anchored on him in a kind of a Saquon Barkley type of fashion, and he loses the other component parts of this problem at times. So again, I'm nitpicking. That's what I do here. Okay. But once he sees that he gets this defender biting to go outside. Okay. What do I mean here? Let's look at this. If we stamp our guy here, look at this position. Okay. It's very obvious that the only option was for him to move outside because of that juke. Okay. Let's go back one frame. Okay. I think we can speculate some things here better off. Watch left to right, left to right. Now the guy's not on their screen yet. Look at him enter now. Okay. He believes, he being the defender, believes, and I think we can speculate based on his movement, posture, position, and the way that Kenneth Walker was acting. He believes that Kenneth Walker is going to go to the sideline, or at least from the numbers on out. Okay. But he freezes him enough, he being Walker, him being this defender, freezes him enough to give him, Kenneth Walker, the opening in the gap that affords pass-through ability here because of his acceleration. Okay. So he executes now he's staying very open, very responsive. Yet he could go from left to right. Remember, I talked about that two-way go with this guy right here, this cat right here. So Kenneth Walker can go here down this gap or through this gap, or he could try to move to his left, depending on how this defender acts. Okay. Open and responsive, attuned and adaptable. Now, I don't think he saw number 9 until he felt him. And at the NFL level, that will have to change because those guys are much more skillful. Okay. And they're not just going to bounce off of them. But the one thing about Kenneth Walker that I mentioned earlier is an abundance of strategies and an adaptability and adjustability in those strategies. Okay. Again, let's not miss this because he has the ability to go from elusive, juking, evasive agility type of cutting actions, then immediately into a strength and power type of strategy and option. Very, very good in that way. Changes his pad levels. He changes levels very, very well. As he comes out of this interaction, I want you to watch his head and his eyes. Where do they go? As soon as he knows that he's in the clear from the tackle attempt of these two cats, his eyes are back up. And here we find our pal number 26, or I guess Kenneth Walker's pal number 26, back up into the mix on this problem. Okay. His eyes are back up, next threat, and he's right on to it. So he's not like basking in the glory of that which what he just did. He's always on to that next threat. So at the 22-yard line, he immediately perceives and picks up 21, and watch him rapidly and quickly change levels to fit and adapt this jump cut to the unfolding problem solution dynamics. Okay. Let's not miss this because this is some layered stuff here. Watch him slow-mo, right up in, perceives him. Where's that guy going to be? How fast is he coming? What kind of position and posture is he in? Oh, he's committed to crashing down. So I'm just kind of talking as if I were Kenneth Walker. He is 26 is committed to filling that space. I still sort of have a two-way go with him. Let me go ahead and adapt. In fact, let's try this crazy, novel, nifty jump cut in tight space. Like what? And he's right up out of that jump cut. And that 2-footed jump cut at that. Like, what is that? That's something that's very functionally fit to let a guy be on your poster and to put him on your poster along with you, right? So, guys and gals, obviously, it's apples to oranges. Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker. Okay. Kenneth Walker just so happens to fit with my style of mover just a little bit more. But I believe that both guys are going to be pretty successful if and when they get in the right situation to play on Sundays. And I do believe that they both possess skill sets that are going to be able to flourish in their own right, just in little different ways. So thank you guys and gals for joining me for our second installment preparing for the 2022 National Football League draft coming up this week. Hopefully you were able to get something from it, and maybe, just maybe, we'll switch up positions here from today to our third installment. You guys will have to stay tuned and see where we go. But for Sean Mishka, the Movement Miyagi, this has been another Movement Play of the Week, Movement Deep Dive. I don't really know exactly what it was, but hopefully it was informative to you, and hopefully you're getting excited for what's going to come when these guys enter the National Football League.